Camden, and this is the ATL News. Here is the latest earthquake today. The earthquake Wednesday was centered between Chattanooga and Knoxville. The quake was felt in the Atlanta metro area as well as parts of the Tennessee Valley. An early morning earthquake in East Tennessee Wednesday was widely felt over the southeast U.S. The magnitude 4.4 earthquake struck around 4:14 a.m. Eastern Time, centered about 7 miles north-northeast of Decatur, Tennessee, in Meigs County, about 55 miles west-southeast of Knoxville. It was followed about 12 minutes later by magnitude 3.3 aftershock.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey, light shaking was observed over most of the Atlanta metro area and a number of states from southern Alabama to South Carolina, North Carolina, and Kentucky. There were no immediate reports of damage or injuries. This quake was one of the strongest on record in East Tennessee, exceeded only by November 30th, 1973, near Maryville, south of Knoxville, which led to minor damage near the epicenter.
To occur along the eastern Tennessee seismic zone, a southwest to northeast belt extended from Alabama to far southwest Virginia, that is the second most active quake zone in the central and eastern U.S., behind Moore and Austria's New Madrid zone. A 2014 USGS study bumped a proportion the ETSZ to higher risk of earthquakes, though not nearly as high as the New Madrid zone in the western part of Tennessee and other adjacent states.
Though quakes stronger than M4.7 have not been recorded in recent times, a 2017 study in the Bulletin of the Seismological Society of America found evidence of an M6 or stronger temblor along the ETSZ within the last 25,000 years. Earthquakes in the central and eastern U.S. can be felt over an area more than 10 times larger than a similar magnitude quake in the west, according to the USGS.
Bye. This was the ATL News, signing off.
Welcome to Channel 4 News.
We have a big story for you today. Now over to Madeline and Taylor for the first part of our story.
At 4:14 in the morning on December 12, 2018, in Tennessee and part of Georgia, there was a 4.4 earthquake.
It was the biggest earthquake in records history to hit Georgia. Heading out to Salina and Claire for more information.
It was recorded by the U.S. Geography Survey.
Back to Taylor and Madeline for a further report.
The earthquake caused an aftershock in Georgia of a magnitude of 3.3.
The earthquake was felt as far as northern Georgia.
However, there has been no significant reports of any significant damage.
Very faint shaking was felt as far as the north of Kentucky.
The quake hit 6 miles north of Decatur around 4:15 a.m. Eastern Time.
This is the latest news on the earthquake that started in Tennessee and flashback on other states just like Georgia.
Hello, this is Kate Evans reporting live for Channel 2 Action News with Krisha Patel and Ava Kodakaram on an earthquake that has hit Atlanta and Tennessee this morning.
This earthquake had a 4.4 magnitude between Chattanooga, located in Chattanooga and Knoxville, Tennessee. This is one of the strongest earthquakes to hit Tennessee since 1973.
There is no immediate report of injury or damage.
Light shaking occurred in the Atlanta metro area. This has been probably the strongest earthquake Georgia has ever had.
A few minutes after this earthquake struck, Tennessee had another aftershock of 3.3 magnitude.
It is possible to see some damage from the earthquake, but devastating damage is unlikely. More than 5,000 people reported at 7 a.m. about the earthquake.
This was Channel 5 Action News reporting live to you. Check back for more updates.
Welcome back to Channel 2 News. At approximately 4:14 a.m. today, Tennessee was hit with an earthquake that was felt from South Georgia. Over to Professor Dillon for more exclusive news.
Well, I'm here in Tennessee where we believe the earthquake started. It started at 4:14 a.m. and was at a magnitude of 4.4. It was the second strongest earthquake in history, just before the Maryville earthquake. The earthquake, which was just 4.7 magnitude, it hit Tennessee and stretched all the way to South Georgia.
Damages and injuries are still yet to be found. Thankfully, it went down to 3.3 magnitude. Other investigations will be updated tomorrow on WSBTV.com.
Good morning. My name is Joshua. This morning at 4:15, a 4.4 earthquake happened at Georgia. The 4.4 was the second strongest earthquake on record to strike eastern Tennessee, according to the USGS. Signs of major damages or injuries have not been reported yet. Now to Ryan.
The 4.4 earthquake is the biggest earthquake in Georgia. It came from eastern Tennessee, then went to Georgia. There have been recent earthquakes in the past few years, such as the 1.9 magnitude in Walker County in August. Now to Ahmed.
Also, other earthquakes like the 2.7 quake in Catoosa County in January. Several smaller earthquakes have ripped through Georgia in recent years, including a 1.9 magnitude in Walker County in August and the 2.7 quake in Catoosa County.
Hello and welcome to Channel 21. We have breaking news of an earthquake in Decatur, Tennessee. It rattled people in North Georgia and portions of the Carolinas. Now let's take it over to the weather reporter. Hello, I am Kamora Grant reporting a 4.4 earthquake in Decatur, Tennessee that shook its neighbors. There already was a 3.3 aftershock and more are expected. It was the second strongest on the record in East Tennessee. The strongest was in Maryville, 1973, being 4.7. The earthquake was at 4:14 and the aftershock was at 4:27. Stay safe and watch out for any aftershocks.
Breaking news.
Earlier this morning, a 4.4 magnitude earthquake just struck north of Decatur, Tennessee.
The quake hit just around 4:15 a.m. and was the largest quake ever to be felt in Atlanta, Georgia.
It was also the second strongest quake to ever strike Tennessee.
Some of the other earthquakes were magnitudes of 2.7, 2.4, and today's 4.4.
Although I didn't wake up to it, I know someone who did.
This morning, I woke up to the shaking of my whole home. I was scared out of my mind, and I realized this was the first time I've ever experienced a real earthquake.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Have a wonderful day, and watch out for those quakes.
Good morning. I know it's a little early, but a shocking report just popped up right here in Atlanta. Yes, at 4:15, an earthquake hit Tennessee, but at 4:30, it hit Georgia. It was a category 4.4, and people could feel it all the way from LaGrange. Now, this was a record because previously in 1974, a 4.3 magnitude was in Lincoln Country. More than 3 dozen earthquakes with a magnitude of 2.5 or greater has occurred in Georgia since 1974. This light earthquake shockingly occurred at 4:14 a.m., about 7 miles and 11 kilometers northeast of Decatur. After 13 minutes, a 3.3 magnitude aftershock occurred here in Atlanta, Georgia. We found more than 40 earthquakes with center points inside of Georgia's boundaries. The counties with most earthquakes are Walkers and Whitfield. None of Georgia's citizens have been severely injured, thankfully. So, that's it for today. Stay tuned for 6 a.m. news. We have some very interesting
reporting. And this is Chase Paul Freeman.
I'm Dominic Uriet.
We have breaking news.
This morning, we had an earthquake of a magnitude of 4.4 at 4:15 a.m.
This earthquake has been the strongest ever recorded in Georgia and is the first earthquake in 30 years in Georgia history, affecting Tennessee and Georgia. Luckily, there were no casualties.
5,000 people throughout Georgia and Tennessee have reported the movements.
This earthquake has affected a nuclear plant that had to shut down in Tennessee. Please stay tuned while we receive more information.
Thank you.
Breaking news live from DNR. There has been an earthquake that has hit Georgia.
This earthquake got a rating 4.4 out of 10 on the earthquake spectrum. This happened today at around 4:14 a.m. You could feel shaking or like someone was opening a locked door.
The highest magnitude before this earthquake was 4.3 in 1974 in Georgia, so this was the largest at 4.4 on the spectrum.
It originally hit Tennessee, and we still felt it. Tennessee was hit a lot harder. In Tennessee, this was the second largest earthquake.
The aftershock came just 13 minutes after the earthquake on a 3.3 on the spectrum, so it wasn't as bad as the normal earthquake, and you could barely feel it in Georgia, but if you did, it was very light and hard to notice. It struck on December 12th at 4:14 a.m. 2018. It struck 9 miles from Spring City, Tennessee.
Thanks for tuning in. This was live news from DNR.
Breaking news! An earthquake just hit at Decatur, Tennessee at 4:15 a.m. and at 4:30 a.m. the aftershock was felt in Georgia. Can you believe it? No, I can't. And the magnitude for the earthquake was 4.4.
What? And the magnitude for the aftershock was 3.3. Was your house shaking? This was the strongest earthquake since 1973.
There was also 2 more aftershocks at 5 a.m. It had a magnitude of 1.3 and another one at 5:30 and had a magnitude of 1.4. I'm Kylie.
And I'm Naya. And good night. I mean, good morning.
This is Lillian reporting live from Great House News Center with info on the 4:15 Georgia earthquake. I have here with me a citizen from Georgia to explain the scene she went through and a seismologist to answer any questions. What did it feel like, Miss H?
Well, I was up early during the morning, finishing a paper, when all of a sudden my house was shaking. So I ran outside.
What do you think, Dr. A?
Well, the reasonable thing to do during an earthquake is to take cover and hide. Get away from all glass or anything that's not well dense. But because at a higher magnitude, this could have caused severe bodily injuries or, in a worst case scenario, death.
How do you think an earthquake is caused?
Good question. I think that the tectonic plates were shifting underneath Tennessee, causing a shake.
That's a really good answer. To explain further, when underground rocks break along the faults, energy releases, and seismic waves shake the ground below. When bigger plates are broken, the earthquake is bigger. The primary waves come first, starting the sudden shaking in the ground, known as an earthquake. And then the secondary and surface waves come later, sending aftershocks.
How and why do you think this earthquake reached Georgia?
It's really common sense. If the magnitude of the earthquake was 4.4, the seismic waves would be powerful enough to reach the northern parts of Georgia, causing a small earthquake.
If the magnitude was higher, how much damage do you think northern Georgia would get?
Well, for starters, it wouldn't just be the northern parts of Georgia. It would also hit many other cities in Georgia, as well as other states.
Although really big earthquakes in Georgia aren't common, it's still good for us to be aware of how to handle ourselves during one.
Well, I want to thank our guests for being here and attending this newscast. This has been Lillian here with the 4:15 Georgia earthquake signing off.
Good morning, Georgia, and welcome back to the Daily News. Georgia. Developing news as early risers in North Georgia felt the 4.4 magnitude earthquake in Tennessee and parts of Carolinas early Wednesday morning.
The earthquake had a magnitude of 4.4 with its epicenter near Decatur, Tennessee, and it had an aftershock of 3.3. Apparently, this is Georgia's biggest earthquake and Tennessee's second strongest.
The center of the quake was about 128 miles north-northwest of Atlanta and about 220 miles west of Charlotte, North Carolina. A 3.3 aftershock followed about 13 minutes later. According to the USGS, but probably wasn't felt much in Georgia. A seismograph maintained by Georgia Tech picked up the quake in North Georgia.
Confused residents in the region took to social media, including Twitter, to confirm the earthquake. The hashtag earthquake is among the top trending searches of Twitter on Wednesday morning.
This area of the state lies in the eastern Tennessee seismic zone, which is one of the most active earthquake areas in the southeast USGS.
We will be back for more information about the earthquake, but for now we will switch to Jack Norway for morning traffic.
Good morning, Atlanta. Welcome back to the morning news. I'm your reporter, ready for action, Ellie.
And I am Brooke.
Today at 4:14 a.m., an earthquake of 4.4 magnitude in Tennessee and Georgia was discovered and recorded.
There may be aftershocks later in the afternoon that we will not be able to feel. There was aftershocks 13 minutes after the magnitude of 3.3.
This was the first earthquake since 2003 when we were hit at the magnitude of 4.9 in Tennessee.
This earthquake was 9 miles from Spring City, Tennessee.
Confused residents in the region took control to confirm the earthquake on all social media apps with the hashtag earthquake.
It's Wednesday morning. This is the top trend, but will soon fade away.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.